What's up, everyone? Alex here, and I wanted to talk about a mini project. Mini project. It's a long-term project, but it feels very small. Mostly because I don't, I can't imagine it's gonna really go places. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this will be my my new success, I guess. So I talked about in an older video, I talked about the Gender Ramblings notebook. It's basically my gender journal, and write just, I basically just vent and rant and ramble on about gender related feelings and labels. My like gender hoard is there, and I talked about just identity related concepts mostly tied to gender, and just a place to like write down just messy thoughts about it that don't make it into a video, just ways that I view my own gender and goals that I have for transitioning. I had a whole journal like that. And part of that journal was like, I wrote down, because I was trying to find a term that like really fit my gendered experience. So I wrote down to start, I wrote down like what I'm not, just like things I knew for sure that did not fit my experience. I wrote that down, and it was a really good way to like narrow down my gendered experience. So my idea was, I guess, to write a gender workbook. And it's basically just a way to, it's like an interactive book that I wanted to write. People could like write in it or like add things to it, like do whatever they want with it. And it was supposed to be for like helping people kind of pin down their gender experience. It includes like terms that like people may not have considered, terms that like people can use that might fit like what they're experiencing. So I have this very messy notebook. It was for something else. I don't know what I crossed out on it. It looks like I had my class on it from like when I went to college, because I went to college for film. So I think that's where this notebook came from. It's kind of repurposed, but it's kind of a messy like draft version of this book that I wanted to write. I'm opening it up here. It's got the preface. It's separated into sections. I even have like a table of contents in the back with notes on like how I want to organize chapters. There's the preface / overview. There's the second section, which is like gender, and it includes what I know I'm not. Gendery sensations or feelings. I don't know what I wanted to write there, but I've made a note. That's how I kind of wanted to describe that. Gender euphoria and how to coin a gender. I just wasn't sure where to fit that in. Other gender stuff that would go under this chapter: transitioning, gender alignment, and then quantifying gender. So, like my experience, mostly male. And then I have a section for pronouns, finding pronouns that fit, and a section for pronoun practice. And then there's like an index of like gender terms and like common pronouns and stuff. So this section, it's got a lot of color coding, and it's labeled what I know I'm not. And it's literally a list of like male, female, genderless, fluid, flux, non-binary, static, multigender, demigender, mask, femme, neutral, queer, gender non-conforming. Those are the words I put here as like, I guess as like a like examples. I'm going to expand this, but I had given a prompt, cross out what you're not, like cross out the words that do not resonate with you. And what I did is the parts, gosh, this camera, the parts that are in blue, those are where I filled in as if it were me using this workbook, because I wanted to like see how everything made sense. So I wanted to fill in these blanks to see if like it kind of helped, I guess. So there's a section that says, what were you left with? List them here. So list all the things that you left behind that you didn't cross out. And then I have a prompt here that says, go back to the leftover terms, the ones that you like wrote in the list, and circles the ones that you relate to the most. Something that like really, like, I guess, like you really connect with, like words that resonate with you that seem to fit your experience. And I want to provide like definitions for a lot of these terms as well. So I made a note at the bottom. That's what that pink is. The pink is like, yeah, define these terms and add it to the index. And I wrote down like the definition, so I knew like what kind of wording I wanted to use for the definitions. Some blank pages. Gender euphoria. I marked this as like, write this in a later section, because I didn't want to just go from choose a term that fits to the idea of gender euphoria. That's probably going to go with like transitioning. It's probably going to be under that like topic, I guess. So it's, let's explore gender euphoria. Below, write some words that make you feel euphoric and rate them 1 to 5 on how euphoric you feel when you hear them. There is a place. The blue is my writing about me, so that I can like kind of fit it to my experience and see like how to use the notebook for my own gender, just to see like what it looks like. So you write like gender terminology, man, guy, sir, demiguy, I don't know, it's ma'am, lass, miss. Those are like examples, which I want to like add here at some point. Like, here's a list of words you can use, and you rate them like 1 to 5 by like circling, what number it is. And it's literally just a rating system. And there's a section for pronouns. What kind of pronouns like make you happy, or trigger gender euphoria in you? And I had written like he, him, am, they, them, she, her, they, them, because I like they, them pronouns. I don't like them being used to refer to me as much as other pronouns, but a whole sliding scale like rating system. And there's also I also have like clothing and presentation, which I'm not going to leave blank spots for. I think I might literally write in like masculine, neutral, feminine, epicene, xenic, and have people circle like, yeah, these make me feel euphoric, whereas these ones don't. And then at the bottom it says, take notes of which words or pronouns got the highest rating. That's a good start. Obviously I'm going to refine this again and again, and then finally have like a typed version of it, but you get the idea. I've got a huge area based on like pronouns, like what kind of pronouns. At the top, I talk about the most common English pronouns: he, she, they. Those are called exapronouns. Its pronouns also fall under that, and they're just like standard pronouns that we use in everyday life. Third person pronouns, specifically third person personal pronouns, because like things like nothing and no one are also pronouns, and who and whom, but that's not what I'm talking about. Also, that's the sound of a cricket in my office. That's what that sound is. I think she just had some stuff to say, because I raise bugs, so I've got this corner with a bunch of different enclosures and a bunch of like different kinds of bugs in them, so that's one of the crickets it is picking up on the mic. That's so funny. And I also made a note, like, provide usage of pronouns, talk about like this is how you use the pronouns as an example. So I gave like the common English pronouns as the basics. I also explained like these are how people are going to refer to you in the third person, and they can be indicative of your gender, but they are not exclusive to it. So you can use it as a form of gender presentation, just like clothing. It could indicate your gender experience or it could not. It depends on the person. Same with pronouns. They're clothing for your gender, I guess. Does that make sense? Sure. And then common neopronouns, ze here, they them, fe fair, am, they there, and see here. And there's also a note here. Some people choose no pronouns, and this is an example on how to refer to someone who uses no pronouns. I have that. Other pronouns, one, it's, this one, that one. It's like other types of pronouns that are very common in English, just not common as personal third-person pronouns. I also made a note to have a short section on noun self pronouns to talk about like those are also possible. A lot of people use noun self pronouns. And another note that says to list dozens. I specifically said dozens of pronouns in alphabetical order. So there'll be an index, which I like. I like that you can like kind of flip the book and, you know, look for something, a definition or like a reference point, I guess. So I kind of like that. It's interactive. It is an interactive workbook about gender. Pronoun practice. And it's really just like, I wrote in like my own examples, obviously. This is Alex. He wants to try some new pronouns for himself. I wonder which ones he picked. Which are his favorites? I want to tell him that he is awesome and valid. But I'm going to I made a note to come up with better sentences, but there are example sentences for pronoun practice. And there's going to be a blank spot where you can write your own sentences, 1 or 2 pages. Probably, yeah, 1 or 2 pages just by themselves where you can like practice pronouns. There's going to be a lot of blank pages for just writing. I also have to consider like how I want the book to be printed. It'd be cool if I could print it like a spiral bound notebook, but you don't normally print a book like that. It's normally just paper or hardcover, but you don't like, I don't think it works printing it like a notebook with the binding, the spiral binding, but I don't know. Gendered feelings, so describing gender using non-gendered terminology: soft, complex, fiery, comforting, silly, serious, non-existent, new, different, colorful, cold, warm, hidden, dark, bright, intense. And then it's just like examples of like circle, you know, any of these adjectives that sound like they describe your gender, and there's a blank space where you can write like your own stuff. I put multifaceted and airy. There's other there's like other examples too, because I have this in my gender journal. I have a list of like adjectives that describe my gender without using stuff like feminine or masculine or whatever. And then there's a section for, you know, what about colors? Do any colors come to mind? This has a lot of neurodivergent people in mind when I like write this kind of stuff, like abstract ways of describing gender. But if you're synesthetic, but if you have like synesthesia, this also fits. A lot of people make connections, or you know, they see connections between like colors and gender or like other concepts. So this also like fits for people like that. And it's just a list of random colors, like what kind of colors come to mind when you think about your own gender. And there's also a spot that you can write your own into. And then I put this section, I think I might keep it, but other feelings. Feels like blank, smells like blank, looks like blank, tastes like blank, sounds like blank. So you can put in your own descriptors, and there may even be a section where you can describe like what your gender feels like, just a free form, like, you know, just write whatever comes to mind. And I used an example sentence here. My gender is like a warm summer breeze and the hot sun on my back. It's fiery and intense and constantly changing. So that's the kind of thing I expect for this section, is just write an abstract like excerpt on your gender, basically. And this section needs a different spot in the book, or in this particular chapter, and it says maybe you can describe your gender as something comparable to an environment. Is it like a brightly lit autumn forest? What about the deep, cold void of space? Maybe it's more like the salty open ocean. Just examples. Also, this one is like the most extensive one as far as like, there's a lot of content and also a ton of notes in the margins for this. So this is finding a pronoun that fits. So this specifically is for determining what pronouns sound the best, because a lot of people will choose pronouns based on like aesthetic, on spelling, on the way it sounds, the way it flows. It doesn't specifically have to fit their gender. It's just they sound really nice and pleasing. So that's what this is for. And I have these different categories of types of pronouns, and I'm trying to kind of keep like unique pronouns in each section without like repeating them. So the first section, personal favorite, soft sounding pronouns starting with a vowel. I can't speak today. Like am airs, I talked about that. Airs with an A. O's self, AA's self. So, just soft sounding pronouns. And then this section, soft but starting with a consonant. So they, them, theirs, nay, nem, nay, nim, they, ver, fey, fair, say, seer, etc., etc. So the same sound as the previous category of pronouns, but just like starting with a vowel. Harder sounding pronouns, thuns, co-cos, purs, and I think it's kine or keen. It's kye. So I'm not entirely sure what that is, but that was for some reason that was the only like example I had of like these are like harder sounding pronouns, I guess. There's gonna be a lot of cuts in this video. For some reason my throat is just not cooperating and my voice keeps getting tired as I'm talking. Definitely need to get used to recording like more often. So yeah, I keep having just trouble speaking. I have a section of pronouns similar to he, him. So hey, him, ha, him, he, him with like, he is like hi. So it's like he, him, here. He, him, his, but with a Y. And then I have a section similar to she, her, she, shem, they, here. Wow, I said they here, z here, or see here. And then a section similar to they, them, which there's quite a few. They, them, theirs, they, their, theirs, they, them, theirs, spelled with an X or a Z. I made a note there, and I'm definitely going to be like adding, I don't think I'm going to add these to like a specific index. I think in the back of the book, it's literally just going to be pronoun sets in alphabetical order, not like, I don't think I'll separate them into this. That cricket's making noise again. That is so funny. This section, how to coin a gender, because that's kind of how I started with, I mean, not this channel, but like started on Tumblr with like coining, words for genders. This is a newer section that I added to this, but it explains if you don't have the language needed to describe your gendered experience, why not invent some words? The amazing thing about the queer community is how many identities exist under that umbrella, from binary genders to the most obscure xenogenders. And then I made a note, define xenogender. So this has a section here, and it says to revisit terms that you used to describe your gender back in blank section, the section where you chose words that fit your gendered experience. You crossed out ones that don't fit, you kept ones that do fit, write them in these blank spaces, and see what happens when you try adding words to the beginning or end of them. Man, woman, boy, girl, void, fluid, flux, gender, xeno, xenic, binary. Does it sound too weird, clunky, etc.? Try a softer ending syllable. And I have, what are these called? These are adjective endings, kind of like how maverick, that eek ending, diamoric, the ick ending, binary. I don't think, I guess airy is an ending here. Lesbian, the like IAN, stuff like that. I have like syllable endings that you can add to a word to make it an adjective form. And I also added like Latin prefixes and suffixes. So the Latin vir is like a masculine noun that people sometimes add to a word, like gender vir. It's any male related gender experience. I coined that myself. Era is the other one. It's the opposite of vir, and it's a feminine Latin noun. So I have an entire section on transitioning and talking about transition goals, and I made a point to talk about how you can have any combination of types of transitioning, social transitioning, like presentation, or like body transitioning, surgeries. And, you know, I wanted to make a point that you could do it in any way possible, any combination of things to fit like what your goal is as, you know, someone who experiences a specific gender that you want to like pass as, or, you know, certain gendered attributes that you want to nullify or neutralize in transitioning. So I didn't want to talk about like transitioning to male or transitioning to female. I wanted to talk specifically about the different types of transitioning you can undergo. I left two main categories: social transitioning, which is your pronouns, your name, titles like Mr. and Mrs., gendered terms like man or woman, and then there is physical transitioning, which is bottom surgery, top surgery, you know, your face shape, your hair, just in general. And then I wrote which of these things can be influenced by going on hormones. And then I made a note saying some people have transition goals that fall into one of these categories, both of them, or neither. Your gender is your choice, and choosing whether or not to transition is equally and entirely up to you. Many people choose not to transition, and that's okay. It says choose to transition, and I wrote choose not to trans because I didn't have room, which is so funny. Wow, I didn't write much else on the transitioning, but it has the most words in it, I think, besides like the pronoun section. Info on gender alignments, and I just wrote down a bunch of alignments: male aligned, female aligned, unaligned, xeno aligned, neutral aligned, fem aligned, mask aligned. Poly aligned's another one. I had made a flag for that and coined a term called poly aligned, and it's just being aligned with more than one type of alignment. And there's also a note here: male doesn't equal mask and female doesn't equal fem. And it says, be sure to bring up this point. Mention that alignment is not gender. But there's nothing else here. It's just a placeholder, like I wanted to talk about alignment. And then this one, I didn't have a name for this section, but it's basically just gendered parts, quantifying your gender, which is kind of what I've done, like talked about in other videos. So do you have more than one gender? Do you have a single gender with multiple parts? And it goes over basic terms like polygender or multigender, demigender, and it has a section explaining like you could be 75% man and the other 25% being something else. I talk about like a lot of demigender people will feel part one gender, part genderless. That's the most common usage of that word, but it could be anything. It could be mostly female and partly male, or it can be mostly agender and part anything, really. Anything could go there. I don't have the best examples, but there's so many different combinations of those gendered parts. So I wanted a section on that. It is not a very long section, but it's there as a placeholder. And then a very like short section that I doesn't have a, like, I didn't mark where it falls in like the like table of contents. Why did I say context? And it's honorifics. So classic Mr., Mrs., Ms., or Miss. And then there's others, mix, or M, or mixer, ind, which is like individual, miss, or misc, like miscellaneous. Why are we calling me? Don't call me Arkansas. Stop that. We're busy. We're having a conversation here. Per, as in person. Per, but it's just PR, and that's just a shorter version of that. Div comes from individual. Miser, which is like Ms. and Mr. kind of mashed together. That's really all I have, though I'm probably going to find a place for this. Maybe gendered terminology. Maybe it fits there. I have no idea. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what else I want to do with it. There's nothing else really. There's a to-do list in the back here, but I've got notes like, you know, every single part I want to add in like my own experiences and how I would fill in the blanks in this. I want literally just a bunch of blank pages where I can like, where people can like journal. They can like just kind of free form, just write whatever they want to. I'm like making notes as I'm talking about this, but yeah, I just wanted to leave blank spots for like a gender horde or euphoric moments or just general journaling. Pronoun practice is going to have quite a few pages, blank pages to like let people like write in that. I think that would be really cool. And I can like release like updated versions of this workbook like every so often. Like I could release like a different version of this where it includes stuff that that wasn't like in the first one, and like if someone fills in their entire like gender workbook, they can like get another one or something. I like that. I'd love to sell it. I would love to like I'd love to be able to like provide that for people, because I would have loved something like that. I don't know if there is anything like that that someone's written, but yeah, that's about it. Somehow this ended up longer than the identity talk video that went up earlier this week. So that's fun, I guess, but that's the gender handbook that I want to refine, and, you know, I want to make it a thing. And I'm definitely up for suggestions, but I haven't worked on it in a while. I don't know if I ever will get back to it anytime soon, but I like to share projects that I'm like working on. So maybe that can be an occasional thing on this channel, is just talking about projects, creative projects and whatnot. I want to try to do another Animal Crossing video this week, maybe. I'm not sure when I'll get the chance to do that, but I would love to do that. But yeah, I guess that's about it. So thank you for watching and for dealing with my awkwardness. I never know how to close out these videos. So I guess I'm just signing off for now. See you later.